All right. Well, as a result of the Holons Network interview, I want to explain my view of materialism a little bit to anybody that hasn't seen me explain it in the past. Um, to me, the idea of materialism is a theory that there are some sort of substance. The substance could be pure energy, but something physical, something that can interact with us, um, out there behind our sense perceptions. Okay, and ultimately behind all of our perceptions, because even our so-called imaginary perceptions are the result of this kind of the substance or energy that is, out there. And this is my explanation of why you can perceive things I can perceive, including all kinds of variations of that, where things you've never seen, and I can bring them into your attention, and you can perceive them for the first time, or we can perceive them at the same time. And that's the theory of materialism. And it's on top of a solipsistic theory that doesn't posit materialism, that just accepts the existence of this flow of perceptions. But I interpret my perceptions to be indicative of this material conditions in reality, and to be at least related, not directly. My interpretation obviously can be wrong, but that it is related, so the correct interpretation, or ever more correct than the previous interpretation, is always available. That's materialism, okay, to me. So whatever is the stuff is material. If we're in a dream world, fine, then it's this basis dream, the person that is having the dream that I'm in. Their imagination is the material. If we're in a computer, then perhaps the software abstraction is the material, but then again, no, really the computer that we're running on is the material in that case. And whatever it is, however you set things up, material is whatever allows you and me to perceive common, quote-unquote, things. It's the material that we have in common, these concrete material conditions. So one person had said, oh, I stopped listening as soon as Piro identified himself as a materialist. Well, that's never a good idea. It's a good idea to stop listening. That's fine. We only have so much time to listen to things. But I don't think that's a very good reason by a label, because you never really know what people mean. Ultimately, when people do adopt labels, that just means they're committing themselves to a certain language, a certain way of expressing things. As a relativist, I promise to express things in terms of context and facts and point of view. So you really, if you stop listening because you hear a label, well, you don't really know what the person's going to say in a given language. And my take on materialism is not at all like most people's take. I say that we define what material means in terms of perceptions. And since any of these theories of dream worlds and all the rest all come down to perceptions, my definition of material applies to all of them. And it's really a theory about interaction, with starting from the concept that I exist, that I have this perception in my body, so my body exists as such a perception, and so on and so forth, where ultimately some of the perceptions are identified for their consistency to the others and to the perceptions of other people. And this is where we zero in on material, because in the theory of materialism, we should all have the same material and therefore be able to zero in on common perceptions if we're careful. And that's the point of experiments and empiricism, is to create situations where we'll have a reliable experience as a result. That if we set up the Michelson-Morley, experiment, then we will see the same diffraction pattern that they saw, and other people can do that, and we can all confirm for ourselves with our own sense perceptions, and thereby have a common idea of material. It's not that we need the consensus. You can do it just by yourself, but it's that when you do it by yourself and other people do it by themselves, it turns out it is possible to reach a consensus on what appears to be the case within certain bounds of limitation. There's always this fuzzy edge of the interpretations, but there's certain things you can say. Objects don't fall upward. Anybody can check and do a quick experiment and even make it up themselves and confirm that objects don't fall upward. So why it is and all the details, again, at the blur of our understanding, well, that's one thing. But in the approximate scale of, well, they don't fall up, we've excluded certain possibilities, basically. with our approximations. So that's what I mean by material, and when I say I'm a materialist, it's just that, yes, I believe everything, all the perceptions, the dreams, the perceptions other people have, that they all come down to material generation, and indeed our brain has evolved in this material universe in the first place. So we all have material in common, and I, in this theory of materialism, envision what we all envision, that there's a world where if I die, it still exists, this material world that other people will continue to perceive. And if not people, then other objects and bits of energy will continue to interact. Cheers.